Good morning. It's good to see everyone here this morning for another San Angelo City Council meeting, and it is great to be alive and in San Angelo, Texas this day. Let's start this morning with invocation. Let me ask Brandon Clark, if you would please come forward and to get our meeting started with a prayer. Stand as you're able. Brandon, the microphone is yours, sir.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we are just so thankful that we can come before you. Lord, we're thankful that you are here. You are Emmanuel, God with us, Lord, and that we can look to you when we need wisdom and understanding. Lord, we're thankful for this great community. And Lord, we just lift this community up to you, Heavenly Father. We just ask for blessings on our city. And Lord, we just ask specifically for this council this morning as they were selected by this community to represent them and to make decisions for the betterment of all San Angelo. Lord, we know that we can ask you for wisdom. You've promised it to us in your word that if any of us lack wisdom, Heavenly Father, we can turn to you and you give it. But we also understand that if we have all wisdom and are able to understand all mysteries and all knowledge, but we don't have love, Lord, then we've missed it all. And we just ask that with every agenda item and everything discussed today, Lord, that a love for you, a love for this community and the people of this community would prevail. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Brandon. And I was supposed to have some Boy Scouts here with me this morning to help me say the pledge, but the STAR test has got our students all busy this morning. So if you would, I'll try and do it by myself. Let's make the pledges to the flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. We do have a couple of proclamations this morning, and then we have a very special recognition. I'd like to start with our proclamation first. Beth Grounds, Gail Hudson, would y'all please come to the front? This is a very special proclamation that I'm going to read. And this proclamation is about a boy that was born and raised right here in San Angelo, Texas. He's one of us. And he did a very special thing when he was in battle. He received the Purple Heart for it. And it is about time that we recognize the things that the natives of San Angelo have been able to do. So I would like to read this proclamation. I will then present it to y'all on his behalf and ask you to do a speech. On June the 8th, 1967, Terry Halberdier saved the lives of 200 crew members on the USS Liberty off of the coast of Israel during a 2-hour attack that killed 34 men and left 174 wounded. Terry had shrapnel wounds over most of his body, but valiantly restored the ship's communication equipment and was able to send off a mayday to the 6th Fleet. He received the Silver Star and the Purple Heart for his actions. Terry passed away this past year on August 11th, 2014. Terry Halberdier was not only our great friend and San Angelo's hero, but a true national hero as well on the most decorated ship in naval history for a single event. Now, therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the city council, do hereby proclaim June the 8th, 2015 as Terry Halberdier Day. And there it is, and I'll invite y'all to make some speeches.
I just want to say that I know, having known Terry since elementary school, that he would be so proud. He was such an American. There was no doubt when you talked to him, even for 5 minutes, where his heart was, and it was definitely with the country that he served.
I, too, went to school with Terry in elementary. He was a little round-headed kid that ate ketchup and mayonnaise and mustard all mixed together, and I think that's what made him a hero, because it had something to do with it. When he was a little kid, he had laugh lines across his face that he always had. He was always jolly and just the best little friend you could ever ask for, and I am so proud. He's a good guy, real good guy. I'm so proud of him.
Let's take a picture.
Oh.
Yes, it did. Thank you. And it is always good to recognize a hero, especially when they're born and raised in San Angelo, Texas. Have another proclamation. Representatives of the Beta Sigma Phi, would y'all come forward, please, and let me read this for you. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here this morning.
Well, thank you.
Are you the only one going to come up?
Well, there's more.
Okay. Come on. Good morning. In honor of the Beta Sigma Phi, the world's largest Greek letter women's service, cultural and social organization with many chapters in the city of San Angelo, the day of April 30th, 2015 has been designated Beta Sigma Phi Day. Beta Sigma Phi is an organization that has grown to include more than 150,000 members, representing more than 10 countries across the world. A group of women who have worked for nearly every known charitable, health, and cultural organization, raising money and donating time and effort to those in need everywhere. The badge of the organization shall signify life, learning, and friendship by its Greek symbols, Beta Sigma Phi. It is sincerely believed to be a worthwhile act that would benefit its many members around the world with a lifetime association with the finest people. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo, on behalf of the city council, do hereby proclaim April the 30th, 2015 as Beta Sigma Phi Day. Thank you. And now the microphone is yours. And yours and yours.
Good morning. Beta Sigma Phi will be 83 years old on April the 30th, which is our Founders Day, and we will be celebrating that. We are representatives of one of 3 of 10 chapters in this city and have many members that have been in Beta Sigma Phi longer than 50 years right here in San Angelo. We do service work. That's all we're about, friendship, service work. And I'm proud to say I'm a member. You have anything to say, Francis?
You're next.
I'm Frances Gladden. I'm a member of Preceptor Lambda Lambda and have been for 23 years. It is a great service that I can do for the city of San Angelo. We donate many hundreds of dollars every year to different parts of San Angelo. Wreaths Across America, which honors our military service deceased people. The Food Bank, Rush Street Ministries, and just numerous other projects that we have. And I am proud to be a Beta Sigma Phi. Thank you.
You don't have any comments?
Thank
Let's take a picture. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate it. And now, and I'm showing my age here, but I remember these guys back when the song came out in 1964. I just started driving, and I can remember, nobody had air conditioning back then, so we all rolled our windows down and drove up and down Sherwood Way, which was the drag, and everybody had blaring from their radios through open windows the song Last Kiss. And I am very, very proud this morning to have 2 of the original members here to accept the recognition for the Cavaliers and Last Kiss. Snake, you and Louis Elliott come forward, please, and let me recognize you. Come on up here. I'm glad to see you boys. And Snake was the drummer when Last Kiss was made, and you were the bass guitarist. So these are 2 of the members of the band that put Last Kiss out, and it was a national hit. Let me read this. This says it all. Hailing from San Angelo, Texas, one day in early August 1964, the Cavaliers went into the recording studio and made the record that would bring them everlasting fame. The record was first released locally on Lee Cam Records, then on Tamara Records, becoming a local hit. Eventually, released on Josie Records, the record became a hit in the fall of 1964. Released on September 5, 1964, Last Kiss spent 15 weeks on the chart, reaching number 2 on November 7, 1964. The song spent a total of 8 weeks in the top 10. The Cavaliers had their first commercial success with Last Kiss It reached the top 10 in October, staying for 8 weeks. It eventually reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts and also earned the band a gold record, eventually selling over 1 million copies. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo, on behalf of the city council, do hereby proudly applaud the Cavaliers and recognize them for the gift of music they brought from the city of San Angelo to the entire world. There's your proclamation, and the microphone is yours. Have a seat, Snake.
Well, 51 years ago, I barely remember it. We had a lot of fun with it, though, and I thank the city council, Mr. Morrison, and everyone concerned with it that remembers the song, and I hope it brings happiness to a lot of you down through the years. Thank you.
Lewis?
Thank you. My gosh, man. I'm not good at this. Anyway, I'd like to thank Mr. Morrison and the City Commission for doing the reclamation. Don't have much else to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Please. We got one more coming. Amanda wants one as well.
It's for my mom.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate you. And now, there we go. Everybody in the world's heard that song. And we even had a group come in later and tried to copy it and remake it. Nothing will ever be as good as the original. Going to have to break from norm here just a little bit. We've got 2 members missing this morning. Charlotte Farmers in Washington, D.C. on behalf of the Ports to Plains, and they're working for highways in this area. And then Marty Self is also out of town, which means that we have only 5 members here today, and that is the minimum that we can have as a quorum. At the same time of this meeting, there is another meeting going on in the other side of the convention center, which is a North American Trade Development. And they have asked me to come forward as mayor and to welcome them to San Angelo and to say a few words. I'd planned on just leaving and leaving the pro tem in charge. But when I leave, we only have 4 and the meeting automatically stops. So I'm going to run over for about 5 minutes and do my mayoral duties. And I'm going to call a quick break. We'll take about a 5 or a 10-minute break. I know we're a little early. Take a 5 or 10-minute break. Let me go do my mayoral duties, and I'll be back, and we'll continue our meeting. So, Marcus, Brian, thank you very much. I appreciate our recognitions and our very good day. It is 9:26. I apologize for that early break, but I thank you for letting me take a minute off. We've got about 150 people over there in this convention, and we need those people to come to San Angelo and spend their money. Tourist dollars are the best. So it's time to get our meeting started again. It is 9:26. Let's get the meeting started. We have now come to the part of our agenda where we call for public comment. Let me read the legalities, and then I will allow people to come to the front if they wish to make a comment. The council takes public comment on all items in the regular agenda. Public input on the regular agenda item will be taken at its appropriate discussion. Public input on an item not on the agenda or on the consent agenda may be identified and requested for consideration by the council at this time. The council may request an item to be placed on a future agenda or for a consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for public comment. On public hearing items, public input will be received on each item immediately following the council discussion and prior to any action on the item. Each member of the public should make the remarks from the podium and begin by stating their name. Remarks by each citizen will be limited to 3 to 5 minutes unless waived by a council meeting for all speaking on that matter. No individual will be allowed to speak more than once on any subject until every citizen wishing to comment has done so. So at this time, I will open the floor for public comments. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and address the council for any reason, pro or con, this is your opportunity to step forward and make any comment that you want to make. The line starts right here at the front, so come on forward. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
I'll ask you to state your name, and then you have the microphone.
Linda Torres Martinez.
and was born and raised here in San Angelo. First of all, I do want to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, for giving me this opportunity, City Council, and I especially want to thank our city manager, Mr. Valenzuela. I've been in contact with him for over a year now. Very involved individual, so I want to thank him for all he does, and all y'all do as well. The reason I'm up here is that there's an agenda item that y'all will be dealing, and thank you also for an agenda item that y'all did in February for me as well, so I thank you for that. But the agenda item that is on the consent is a piece of property that
We can't talk about it.
Well, she can ask that it be pulled. She can ask that it be
Now, I'm
pulled
just
to the
going to make a
regular
comment
agenda.
about it. I
We
don't,
can't have.
But Linda,
Oh.
when we get to it, we'll pull that item and
Oh,
then you
okay.
can talk.
If you,
Which
what
item?
what item is it you're talking about,
it's
ma'am?
the 35 feet.
It's,
I think it's the
Which
last
item is it, Johnny?
Dan knows it. An item
Number two.
number two.
Number
Last
two?
item on number two.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so what you would like to do is to pull item number 2 off of the consent agenda and place it onto the regular agenda so that we can discuss it? Is that what you're asking?
No, I just wanted to make a comment on it. That's all I wanted to make.
Well,
I guess,
don't think she
but
can
you
do
have to
that.
pull it.
We will pull it.
Okay.
We will put it on the regular agenda, and I will ask you back up at that
Okay.
time, and we'll let you
All
make
right.
your comment. Got to
Thank
stay
you.
within the legal bounds here.
Okay.
We
Thank
got a
you.
lawyer sitting right there, so.
Thank you.
Well, I will let you speak, ma'am. We will pull item number 2 to the regular for discussion. Do I have any other further public comment? Come ahead, Anthony.
Good morning. I'm Anthony Wilson, and I'm not here as your public information officer this morning, but as the chairman of the United Way campaign this year for the Concho Valley. And I just wanted to call your attention and the attention of the public to May 5th, which is going to be San Angelo Gives Day. And what this is, it's an online telethon, if you will. If people will log on to sanangelogives.org, there's going to be a lot of nonprofits, a lot of causes, and a lot of worthy charities that day. They're going to be soliciting donations, and it's going to be a little bit of a competition, if you will. And so I'm encouraging people to log on to sanangelogives.org that day and contribute to the charity of their choice. Now, of course, being the chairman of the United Way campaign, which is one of the participating nonprofits, I, of course, am encouraging people to specifically give to the United Way of the Concho Valley. That, of course, is the only charitable organization that the city of San Angelo partners with and participates with. And so we would appreciate everybody's consideration on May 5th, sanangelogives.org.
And I would call that a shameless plug. What would you say?
Guilty.
Thank you, Anthony. Do we have any further public comment today before we move on? If anyone else desires to speak, this is your opportunity. All right, we will now go to the City Council. We'll start with you, Ms. Grindstaff. Does anyone on the City Council have any statements they want to make or any items they want to pull?
Yeah, I don't need to pull anything, but I just wanted to say that we had a neighborhood chat last night at Glenn Middle School. Once, as I say, we found the cafeteria. That's a beautiful school, but very interesting in its arrangement. For those of you who went there or have been parents of kids, you understand. But for the 25 of us that could find the cafeteria, we had a great discussion, and Chief Tim Vasquez was our guest. We did not let him talk about demolition of anything. And we talked a little bit about the needs in the police department, crime statistics in our community, where they are with the growth in our population. And we had a little discussion about appointed versus elected. And so I want to thank everybody that attended. Mr. Bethune, wherever you went, we missed you. And anyway, we'll see you next month. And our featured guest will be Anthony Wilson. We couldn't put the two of them together, as you can imagine, so.
Thank you, ma'am. Don?
I have nothing.
John? Rodney?
I don't have anything.
Okay, well, I am pulling item number 2 off of the consent agenda and moving it to the regular agenda so that we can discuss that. I will now entertain a motion from someone on the council to approve the consent agenda,
I will
starting with,
move to approve the consent agenda minus item number 2.
and that's going to be item number 1 down through item number 11. I do have a motion to approve as presented
Second.
with the exception. I do have a second. Do I have any further council consideration and talk on this? Do I have any public comments on this before we call for the vote? If not, I do now call for the vote. All in favor of approving the consent with the exception of item number 2, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 5-0 on that one. Number 2 is consideration of adopting a resolution to the City of San Angelo authorizing the mayor to execute a tax resale quick claim deed conveying all right, title, and interest of the City of San Angelo and all other taxing units interested in the tax foreclosure judgment or tax warrant, and Cindy Priest will be doing this. We have 5 items under number 2, Lot 13, Block 1, Mineola Edition, suit number B050020T for $24.95, Saul Acevedo. Number 2 is 0.174 acres in the southeast part of Block L. Sunnyside Edition, suit number B06011-8T, 1500 Ignacio C. Luna. Number 3 is the west half of the south 0.64 acres of Lot 7, Block 4, Homeacres Edition, suit number B110198 tax, $3,059, Mr. Tony Juarez. Number 4 is Lot 4, Block 38, Lakeview Edition, suit number C120155, tax of $1,800, Miguel Duran. And the last one is east 35 foot of the north 77 foot of Lot 8, Block 2, Bell Edition, suit number B060121T for $1,000, Linda Torres Martinez. And I expect that's the one that you want to address. If you would, please, ma'am, come forward and we will listen to your concerns.
I just wanted to make a comment on that piece of property because my father has been on that property since 1967. There's a clear understanding or a clear cut with our neighbors because they went ahead and fenced all that property. So the only property that was not fenced actually belonged to my dad. And I just found out that that actually belonged to the city, and that's where I went ahead and put the bid because I did not know that that belonged to the city or that it belonged to somebody else. I've been in that possession for 13 years, and it's been like that for the 13 years that I've lived, plus the 1967 that my dad was there. So I'm very puzzled as to how the different lots, how they were sold, because they were originally 50 by 273. Block 2 has 10 lots, and they were all 50 by 273. As I dug into the deeds, most of the deeds have where they're 50 by 140 on the south side, and on the north side, it's 50 by 132. How my dad did not know how to read or write when this all happened, but it is clear by the neighbor, because my dad is gone and my mom is gone. But the neighbor that I have on the south side has been there before us. And I went and talked to him, and he told me that all that piece of land, which I'm buying today, belonged to my dad. So I don't know how all that happened, but it's clear that their fence of their lands is there on both sides, the west side and on the south side. So the only thing that's not fenced is on the north side and on the east side, which is that property. All of that property is mine. I did a survey. On there because my lot says 9 and 10. And how they sold my dad 50 by 77 when those lots are 140 and 132. So I'm buying land that I feel already belonged to my dad because there is no subdivision. I have not found any subdivision that did anything different. What I have found is that all those lots on the south side are 140 by 50, and on the north side, they're 50 by 132. So they've sold land that I don't know how they divided it. So that's the comment that I wanted to make, because according to what I know, and I grew up there since 67, that whole land has been my dad's. So how it came up that it's not, I have no idea, because I can't see that they sold him land that's only not even a lot. It's 50 by 77. Normal lot is 50 by 100. So I just wanted to make that comment that there needs to be something done because everything else is in place except that piece of land right there. And my son has pictures of where the fences are, that now it's clear saying that it's not our land. At least 29 feet on the south side, and then now this one that I'm buying, which is only 35 feet. They sold the other gentleman 15 feet. How that happened, I don't have idea either. But they broke up Lot 8, which is where my sheds are, which I didn't know was not my land. But they sold the other gentleman 15 feet and left the 35 feet. And like I said, I don't know how all that happened, but according to Texas law, you know, if a person's been there for 30 years, that really should be their land. And that's the comment that I wanted to make.
Thank you, ma'am. Cindy, can you shed some light on this for us, please, ma'am?
I've had a number of visits with Ms. Martinez, and we've gone through, I've indicated that the city was not the subdivider nor the developer of the subdivision. We acquired it through a tax foreclosure. There were no offers made at the tax foreclosure sale. Dean & Dean did do the title work on the property. The city has held that property since 2010. Our goal was to dispose of the surplus property, and we contacted the adjacent property owners. We've helped Ms. Martinez go through. I gave her a copy of the plat, the original plat. I gave her copies of her parents' deed, copies of the adjacent deed. Again, and I've explained to her that the city was not the developer of that subdivision. We were just the recipient of a tax lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, any questions on this before we move on? Rodney?
Why is that the only lot on the block that's smaller, or is it the only one that's smaller?
It is the only one, but it was just sold out in pieces. We didn't search title all the way back to determine how that 35 feet was separated from the 50-foot lot. But there is an adjacent property owner who owns 15 feet of that 50-foot lot. The city was not a party to that subdivision.
Right.
But the good thing going forward is now she will have clear title once this sale goes through.
Correct. And our goal was to, if we noticed that there were structures on the property, we wanted to let the adjacent property owner know that, you know, you're parking on the city-owned property, or you have a structure, a temporary structure. So if you don't purchase it, then we would open it more out for proposals. But our goal is to sell it to the adjacent property owner, especially if they're utilizing the city property.
Cindy, is the $1,000 the taxes that are owed, the back taxes that are owed, or
No,
where
sir.
did that figure come from?
The city collected a portion of the closing costs. The property was struck off to the city for $1,600. Rather, Ms. Martinez, we worked with her to get it down to $1,000. Our goal, of course, is to get back all that we can. So we did get back some of the closing costs, which are the attorney's fees and the costs involved in that foreclosure. The city did retain $500 for the administrative fee, which has been approved by the taxing entities that the city get $500. But because it's a 35-foot lot, we did offer it for less than the adjudged value.
And we also are offering it for less than the taxes owed on it? Did I
Yes, sir.
understand
Yes,
that?
so
Okay.
there will be no taxes owed when
Okay.
Ms. Martinez
So it's free and
assumes it.
clear now?
It's free and clear.
Motion to approve.
Somebody want to second it?
Second.
Do have a motion to approve. Ms. Martinez, I appreciate you bringing that forward. I hope the explanation has given you a little satisfaction. We do have a motion to approve as presented. We do have a second. Any further council comment? Do I have any public comment on this before we move forward? If not, all in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 5-0 on that one. Let us now move on to our regular agenda. We will start with item number 12, which is under public hearing and comment. The first public hearing for public comments for and against annexation to the San Angelo city limits of certain property situated immediately west of San Angelo, generally located on the northwest corner of Arden Road and FM Highway 2288, specifically described as approximately 44.821 acres of land out of the BS&F Survey 5, Abstract Number 101, and AB&M Survey 3, Abstract Number 24, Tom Green County, Texas, and said 44.821 acre tract also being out of the certain 917.9 acre tract described and recorded in instrument number 703583, official public records of Tom Green County, Texas, and the said 44.821 acre tract being more particularly described by meets and bounds in Tom Green County, Texas. Ms. Gary, you are on, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Rebecca Guerra, Planning Manager. As you alluded previously, this is the Arden Road annexation, a little over 44 acres located north of Arden Road and west of FM 2288. It's in the ETJ, so therefore it's in precinct number 3, Commissioner Bacon's district. And if annexed, it will likely be put into single-member District 6, Charlotte Farmer. This is the second of 5 public hearings, so this is the first public comment hearing. State requires 2 public comment hearings before any municipality wishing to annex any piece of property. So this is number 1 of 2. Future land use of this site is split between commercial and neighborhood. You can see the red portions as commercial and the yellow portions as neighborhood. Neighborhoods are generally classified as single-family detached. That can also include anything from duplexes to townhomes to quadruplexes. Commercial can include everything ranging from neighborhood commercial all the way through heavy commercial, or even a PD. As you can see, there is no zoning. The major thoroughfare plan, the purple, the purplish lavender colors are arterials, and the blues are minor collectors. Here are the utility map showing the water and the water lines and the hydrants. These are also located in your staff reports. 5 notifications were sent out within a 200-foot radius. There were 0 responses as of 9 o'clock this morning. The list underneath on the left shows also the certified mailings that went out to the various utility companies. Per state statute, there also had to be publications for this public comment hearing as well as for the next one. Those publications took place on April the 5th and April 20th. There's no action required today. However, I want to bring to your attention that the second public comment hearing is scheduled for May the 5th. This concludes staff's presentation. We're available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry.
I asked this at the last meeting, but for everyone here and just for my recollection, can you explain where the city limit lines are? You flip through your maps kind of quickly.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the city limit maps, if you can see with, I'm going to show it on the light color. This is where the arrow is. You see this little black line that's right here?
Mm-hmm.
This is the city limit. So per state statute, any annexing property must be contiguous or run adjacent to a right-of-way or a water body.
That's why.
So you can see here's the
I
staff portion and the flag of the lot.
I think that configuration is somewhat problematic personally, but I'll save my comments for another day.
But we did indeed contact the applicant twice to see if they could bring in more
Right.
property to the south. They declined both times we requested that to take place. So in order to move forward with a voluntary annexation portion, this is what we're moving forward with. If council wishes to do otherwise, we can run a separate application concurrently.
I appreciate you saying that. I think the public needs to understand that as well, because that there are difficulties, honestly, in serving this. There's begins to become confusion in what is in the city limits, what's outside of the city limits, police response, fire response, all of it, not to mention utilities. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a public comment hearing, so if there is anyone in the audience that has any public comment for or against, this is your opportunity to stand up and to speak at this time. I see no public comments from the audience. Council, is there any other comments that needs to be made before we move on? Rodney?
I agree with Liz on this. I think this can be problematic in the future. One of the things, though, we do have to look at on Liz, and I know you've probably been out there, but you know that is kind of a man camp that was right there off of the bottom road at the very bottom down here.
So it's about right here.
Yeah, it's right there. I don't want to bring that in yet. So I think we could have some big problems and in the future if we do that. So I would be in favor of bringing in all of that corner and going up from there. I think it would be better for us to keep it all continuous that way. And I'm not quite sure what his thinking is on that either. I'm not understanding it.
Yeah, leapfrog development is difficult.
Yeah, it's very.
So you can see,
and he owns all that.
Right, and I don't know if our comprehensive plan speaks to leapfrog development, but it is problematic. And I think I mean, I would be much more in favor of this if we did go down and pick up the rest of that block of land.
So you can see on the future land use map, this is all the property owned by Mr. Jensen, who is the applicant of this site. So that's why we included the whole scope of the future land use, superimposing that flag, if you will, that's being proposed for annexation. So you could see exactly what the holdings were.
Have we satisfied the state
Sir, yes, sir.
statutes and your statutes as well?
Sir, yes, sir.
All right, we will move on, and we will see you again on May 5 to do this
Yes, sir.
again. Item number 13 is consideration of adopting a resolution related to a request for in-kind support. This is a waiver of permit fees for Operation Finally Home. It's a resolution of the City Council for the San Angelo, Texas, in support of the San Angelo Home Builders Association participation in the Operation Finally Home program, authorizing in-kind support in the form of a waiver of municipal building and permit fees for the construction of one single-family home to be awarded free of charge to a disabled veteran and finding a public benefit therefore. Brother Torres, you are on, sir.
Good morning, Mayor, council members. I am Alfonso Torres, building official for the City of San Angelo, and I'm bringing forth, as you mentioned, a proposal on behalf of the Home Builders Association of San Angelo to waive the permit fees for a project they're doing. And if it's okay with you, some of the members are here. Adrian Balderas, owner of AB Builders, who's the lead contractor on this project, would like to come forward and do a quick presentation on what the program is about. So.
Mr. Balderas, you have the floor, sir, and welcome.
Appreciate you guys. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all the sacrifice you guys make to make sure our city runs efficiently. I'm going to go ahead and do a PowerPoint presentation just to kind of give you some info on the project and what we're requesting from you guys. Created in 2005 by a builder in the Houston area, Operation Finally Home is a nonpartisan, nonprofit 501(c) organization that brings together home builders, building suppliers, and communities all over the nation to help veterans and their families. Its mission is to provide custom-built, mortgage-free homes to wounded, ill and injured veterans, the widows of the fallen, and their families, creating a solid foundation to help them move forward in their lives and become productive members of their communities. After successfully building a home for a wounded Marine in 2011, the Home Builders Association of San Angelo has chosen to once again to participate in this program. The necessary funds have been put together and a team of volunteers has been recruited who are donating time, materials, and skills to build another home. Earlier this year, a family was chosen by Operation Finally Home to receive a home in San Angelo. During military night at this year's stock show and rodeo, the HBA was pleased to present house plans to U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant George Chris Campbell and his family. Campbell joined the U.S. Air Force in September of 1994. During a deployment to Balad Air Base in Iraq, he was injured by a rocket attack at his base on June 11, 2005. As a result of the blast, he sustained traumatic brain injury. He medically retired from the military in 2012 with numerous awards, including the Purple Heart, the USAF Meritorious Unit Award Ribbon, and a National Defense Medal. Campbell and his family previously lived in San Angelo during his time working for the Federal Civil Service at Goodfellow Air Force Base. His family is eager to move back to San Angelo's warm weather, leading local medical facilities, good schools, and its family-friendly community. Led by myself and my company, the construction of the Campbell family home in the Bluffs will begin in the next couple of weeks. After getting with city staff, these are the proposed costs that we're requesting that you guys donate so that we can make this project possible. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Well, there wasn't any warm weather the day we cut the ribbon out there, was there?
No, sir.
My goodness, like to froze.
There is a proposal that was written by the city attorney in the packet that you received, so that's what we're asking for today, is that be adopted.
I'm all in favor of this. I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
I've got
Second.
four
You
motions
let,
to
you
approve.
can let the you can let the military.
I'm
do
gonna-
it.
I'll take the second.
I'm going to take Rodney's motion. I'll take Johnny's second.
My third,
And then
fourth,
we'll
and
take your
fifth.
third and fourth. I think this is a wonderful deal. Balderas, I thank you very much, sir. That's, it's very kind. This is community helping community, and that's what San Angelo's all about. I'm proud of all of us. Do have a motion to approve, but first I must take public comment if anyone wishes to speak to this before we vote.
Can I ask Adrian
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question? You had to apply to participate in this program. The home builders did, or your company?
We had done this again, like I said, in 2011, so we were already familiar with the Operation Finally Home, and what we did is we notified them and told them that we were wanting to participate again. So what we do is when they receive a request that a community wants to do a project, then they go out and search for a family and do all that lead work.
I would just hope that we could maybe do more of this in the future. I don't mind it coming to council because it certainly sheds light on a very, very selfless thing that you're doing in the home builders. But just going forward, I think it would be an excellent policy for the city.
Well, we're really passionate about it. Our goal is to do this as often as we can. We'd love to do it annually if we could, but it's just a matter of fundraising and
Right.
getting that stuff together.
Well, and I think here again, the whole group that's involved in this thing is to be commended. That's a great thing. It's great for San Angelo and just
They
wonderful.
sacrifice so much. It's just the smallest thing that we can do for them.
Thank you, Adrian.
Adrian,
Thank you.
I think if you guys could do it once a month, that'd even be better. I just have to throw that in there. I'm sure there's families out there that could use our help.
Well, we'll do it as often as we can.
One last thing, are you still needing monies and volunteers for the build?
We've got most of the house that we're proposing to build is about a $300,000 house, and we have all of it secured except for about maybe 40. But we're doing a fundraiser right now that once we get through with it, we'll probably drop that number down to about 10.
How did they donate to that fundraiser?
We're selling some raffle tickets. We're donating or raffling off 50 guns in 50 minutes. A $50 raffle ticket will give you 50 chances to win 50 guns.
And where can they buy those at?
Hi, I'm Lindsay, Executive Officer of the Home Builders Association. You can find a link on our website to donate directly to Operation Finally Home and the San Angelo Build Project.
Okay, thank you.
The raffle tickets,
Raffle tickets will go on sale May 1st. We are doing a gun raffle to help out with that. So again, more information will be on the website once those are available.
good deal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Appreciate that.
Do have a motion. I do have a second. I will call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Drop a 5-0 on that one as well, please, sir. Number 14 is consideration of awarding RFP number PD 0115, towing and impoundment services, providing for the towing of private and city-owned vehicles from place to place, and impoundment of vehicles to Home Motors Incorporated, and authorizing the city manager to execute any necessary contracts and/or related documents in substantially the attached form. Assistant Chief Jeff Fant, you are on, sir.
All right, this should be short, simple, and to the point. We went out for an RFP for the towing services that are contracted by the city, and mostly for non-consent tows, seizure vehicles, and things like that. We did that in January. Bids came back, proposals came back rather in March. We had one proposal submitted. We were able to negotiate a good contract, and they met all the needs of the city, and we proposed that we're able to execute that contract and move forward with this.
Mr. Taylor, I see you back there. Did you have anything you wanted to answer before we take a vote? When you send out proposals, only get one back, it kind of simplifies the process, doesn't it?
Sometimes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Councilwoman, Council, Mayor. The only thing that, we've dealt with this before, but the only thing that came up this time, in the past, we've had to extend the contract in order to get everything fulfilled here. This time, it actually expired April of 2014. So we're a year past the expiration date. As it's set right now, when we utilize this, it's going to take off a year of the contract duration. That's the only issue I have with it currently as it is. I hate that we're taking the penalty because we didn't, get it approved in time. So I would like for special, I don't know what would have to be done to allow that, but I wish that the contract could take effect more currently instead of having to backdate a year. But other than that, I have no comment. It's a good contract, and fortunately this time we didn't have a lot of changes to have to go through other than just updating consistent with the state. Thank you.
So actually, your contract is for 2 years instead of 3?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
It would be instead of 3 and 3 as it's written this time, it would be a 2 and 3, I guess.
Okay.
Jeff, is there any way we can address that?
Speaking with Dan Solari, our the city attorney, and basically he says that we can make the effective date effective after the contract. I think he can explain a little bit better than I can for sure on that.
The contract was just continued to operate under the old contract, and those rates and all those fees have been paid, and all that is history. So the intent is to have the new contract with the new rates, new fees, et cetera, become applicable once the council approves the new contract. So it will be for the full term.
Oh, good.
Okay.
And we also
Is that all right, sir?
And we also did ask for a contingency in there to renew the contract for an additional 3 years upon mutual agreement after the expiration. So with totality, we could be looking at 6 years of this.
Thank you, Jeff.
Move for approval.
Second.
Do have Don has moved for approval. I do have a second from Rodney. Any public comment on this before we vote? Council comment? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 5-0 on that one. Thank you, Taylor. Number 15, discussion and consideration of the possibility of issuing rebates of water fees and any action related thereto. Director of Finance, Tina Bonnell.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes,
Good morning,
ma'am.
Mayor and Council. As you know, we have an ordinance that requires us to assess the financial position of the water fund twice a year. We do that in April and November. The council determines whether a rebate is appropriate, and if it is, then that's assessed and occurs in May and December of each year. So we have done this twice. Council has initiated action. The first time rebates were granted in the form of waiver of base fees on water bills, and the second time excess fund balance was transferred to a capital projects fund. At this time, at the end of March, the fund balance in the water fund was not even $1 million. It's at $957. So our goal in that fund balance is $4.8 million. Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke. Thank you. $957,000. Pardon me. Our 75-day goal for fund balance is $4.8 million, and so staff recommends no action at this time.
We ask our people to conserve. They conserve, but yet our water department is funded by selling water. So it's any council comments? Get us started on this, someone.
I would make a motion to not provide any rebates at the current time. I think we all want to do what we can for the citizens. I think everybody up here would agree, but I think we also need to be very cautious about our future. So
Yes.
I would say I would make a motion to hold at this time.
Second.
Do have a motion to deny the rebate at this time. I do have a second. Any further comment from council?
You probably don't need any kind of vote.
Probably not. Public comment. All in favor of denying, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Drop a 5-0 on that one.
Thank you.
Ma'am. Let's see, number 16, discussion and any action thereto regarding the annual fee review. Budget Manager Morgan Chegwin.
Good morning. I am not conserving water today. I am fighting allergies, so please forgive me. We'll move through this quickly, and I'll take a sip of water if I need to. We just wanted to give you an update on where we are on the fee review. Although we've always had a process in place to review fees, this year we really launched a comprehensive way to better serve and support departments through that process. And so we developed a new process in October. My staff was out in the field November through December conducting field work, educating on the new process and gathering information. In January, we began vetting the recommendations and conducting cost analyses to see what fees needed any action or any recommendation. February through March, we worked through the process of achieving finance director approval, city manager's office approval for what's before you today. And then this month, we'll begin discussions with council on any action that's recommended by staff, any additional research or information that would need to be gathered, and ultimately adoption for the fees for which there is action recommended. So this year, we launched a streamlined process to review each fees each year. However, we do an in-depth analysis on a 3-year rotation. It's cumbersome to really hit the big 3 points, which I'll get to in a minute for each and every fee, although each fee was reviewed this year and will continue to do so each year thereafter. Some departments recommended no changes. However, there were several procedural changes that were recommended that don't require council approval, but will lend efficiencies to those divisions. Just wanted to talk about, there are a few things that we're not going to take action on in the fee review. We wanted to clearly identify that. For example, the airport has a well-vetted and developed process as it relates to the FAA and market rates and things like that. And so we want to just support them on that process and not bring them to our process. I think there would be an interruption in efficiency to do that. Similar in the water utility fund, that the water rate study is really a different bird. It's a different kind of process and requires a much more involved process, which we're also undertaking at this time, but kind of independently of this process. Then fire, specifically ambulance under the fire rates, that there's lots of moving parts as it relates to that, and Chief Dunn is really on top of making sure that it meets Medicare rates and all the legal that's required to go with that. Municipal court, of course, those fees are set by statute largely, and so we have no sway over changing those anyway. So we would recommend that they're not included in this process. And then finance department, just for the property tax rate, because we do talk about that in the annual budget process. So just to let you know, there are a lot of things we are going to talk about. Those are a few that we're not going to talk about, and that's why we've thought that they had a good process separate from ours. So there are really 5 divisions that came out of this review this year that looked like they needed action and consideration by the council. And since this is a large process and a large discussion, we suggested breaking it up and having just a couple of those divisions come before the council each month through June. So the first one for your consideration is Fairmount Cemetery. And as we move through these, this meeting and in future meetings, really what we're going to talk about is the 3 big things to support on any decision making, which would include the cost of providing the service, the financial impact of changing a fee or implementing a new fee, and the survey of benchmark cities or other peer groups. So I'm going to work through those 3 items here. First, we'll talk about Fairmount Cemetery, and Mr. Mota from Fairmount Cemetery is here to support me on this. Certainly, there are things in here that he can explain better than I. For example, the opening and closing, the current fee is $1,100. The proposed fee is $1,250, and you'll see the cost of service there is $1,634. So to kind of let you know that's where we're at on costs. And if it's the council's pleasure, we can go through these line by line. They're in your background, so it's certainly we can move ahead at y'all's pace.
Can I ask you a question right off the bat?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
When was the last time that these fees were raised on Fairmont Cemetery?
I believe it was 2005. Oscar, do you have that information?
Some were 2005, some 2010.
Some in 2005 and some in 2010.
Okay, so if I'm reading this right, and the way when I was going over this on Friday, we're basically losing right now $534 on just the first. I'm going to go line by line, but $534
on that first one. Yes, sir.
Right.
And so I think it's been, the feedback that we've been getting is that it would be prudent to stay on top of an annual review, and it would be difficult to implement a $500 increase in 1 year. And so, and I think when you see our survey data, it would be difficult to bear in the market, a $500 increase in 1 year. And so our recommendation would be to go to $1,250, for example, for that first item, but to stay the course. And if next year we see that an additional adjustment needs to happen, we would bring that back to the council for consideration again. But again, this is all up for discussion. We can make whatever line item changes or philosophy discussions, any of that. And for example, in Fairmount Cemetery, one of the things when you think of fee review is what is your estimated cost recovery? And so Fairmount Cemetery is really an enterprise fund. It should support its own operations, so you'd expect 100% cost recovery. If it costs us $1,634 to provide, we should levy that as the fee. There are other items, for example, in a moment we're going to talk about health services. That really is a function we should be providing to the citizens, even if we may not have a 75% cost recovery, because it's our job to do that anyway. And so that's something to consider as well.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'm satisfied with what you've done there. We can go through it if you want to, but I'm satisfied with this.
I don't think we have to go line by line. I mean, I just wanted to make it real clear that, I think the goal should be, whatever the cost is how much we need to be collecting. And I understand not raising it and killing, for lack of a better word, someone over the fees in 1 year's time period. I could see a 3 or a 5 year time period. But again, I think I mentioned this the other day, this is a thing where we need to talk about raising our fees on a yearly basis across the board for all of our different things.
And this is the intention, of course, is to make sure that we're doing and we'll be doing a very thorough review over a 3-year rotation as far as the way we have it scheduled at this point. But it's really important that we do it on a year-by-year basis. We don't want to hit our citizens or our customers up all at once in 1 year. We want to make sure we're responsible and we're reviewing them on a year-by-year basis and making those adjustments yearly till we get to the point where we actually are at least breaking even. And right now, we're taking all this into consideration with recommendation. I would like to be able to go up to the cost of service, to be honest with you. But again, this is over a certain number of years that we were making adjustments, and I'd hate to do it all at once.
Well, but if we do that, then in 3 years, where's our cost of service at that point? We never get caught up.
Well, and Ms. Grindstaff, if I could, our intent was to have a schedule of which fees would be in year 1, which fees would be year 2. However, if you were a department that's scheduled for year 3, but you're ready for action in year 1, we can do that now. Our intent is not to hold back that progress. Our intent was just to chop up the work to be able to tackle it all in each year. So for things like Fairmount Cemetery, I think it's going to be a continued discussion. I don't think it'll be 3 years before we're talking about it again.
Well, I think either way, that if the intent is for the service, the cost of the service to be covered, then you're always reviewing it essentially. I think that, what Rodney's saying is, I'm a huge supporter of Fairmount Cemetery. I walk there every morning in the dark. But in order for it to continue to be maintained as it is, and to flourish in the future, we have to be able to cover the cost of it today and not have that borne by someone in the future. So I don't know. I think we might need to look at moving that forward a little bit sooner.
But if you do, I think that she has the perfect plan. If we do big jumps for like 3 years, and then it would be small jumps, I believe, after that, right? It probably hasn't gone up that much, has it, since 2005? The last
10 years.
Okay,
No,
so
sir,
I think if we catch up in 3 years, then it would be little bites after that, and just look at. But as long as, and I do agree with you. You said it perfectly. The way I feel, little raises each year, I think are good. But we're going to have to, the first couple of years is going to be a lot harder on this.
And our goal is to do it on a year-by-year basis to hopefully by year 3 and year 4, we're completely at the level we should be. But right now, I know it's very taxing on certain individuals or certain, as far as the services that are being provided, that we jump up all completely on. I, as I mentioned a while ago, would prefer to do it all at once, but we also have to keep in mind our taxpayers. We have to keep in mind our customers as well. And we do it incrementally, it'll be less of an impact for them, but we will definitely get it caught up.
But you just said 4 years. You just said 3 or 4 years.
Well, again, the goal is to do a thorough review of each department on a 3-year rotation, every 3rd year. But each one of The directors is responsible for reviewing those fees on a yearly basis. Now, finance may not be able to do a complete audit and review every single year. They'll do it on a third year, but the director is responsible to review yearly and make a recommendation on those adjustments on a yearly basis as well.
Okay, I just don't want you to push it too
No,
far.
no.
Because I think this is an example, whether we're talking about Fairmount or any other service, if the customer does not pay for the service, then the taxpayer
That's right.
is bearing that, and they're not benefiting from it. So this is a philosophical discussion, but I think that's a good example. So
Yep.
I'm for the couple of year catch-up, but not
4 years.
not a 5 year, because in 5 years, we're going to be back in the same place.
We'll set our goal for the no longer than 3 years then.
And everything you're saying is best practices, and we're attempting to match
Thank you.
our current processes with that.
Johnny, do you have a comment?
Morgan, if the idea is to at least break even, what do you tell the taxpayer? And go back a slide. I think it was one more. Look at that tent setup. What do you tell the taxpayer when, hey, the estimated cost of service is $123, current fee is $250, so, and then you want to raise it another $50? What do you tell the taxpayer out there that, hey, you're almost doubling, tripling the fee?
There are really three things that support what the fee should be. And so part of it is the cost, and part of it is the survey, and part of it is what we think, the market can bear. And so through discussions with Oscar, we thought the market could bear that. And you'll also see in some fees that we are losing money, but in other fees you are making money. So overall, it's coming back to whole. And so that's up for the council's discussion, that the tent setup is one that we feel like the market could bear $300, for example. Second tent should be half of that. But the survey data, I think, was $94. But there's only one really city that's breaking it out that way. So based on our discussions, we feel like the market can bear that. The estimated cost of service doesn't necessarily support that, and the survey data doesn't necessarily support that, but we think that the market can bear that.
So we're short on one end, we'll pick it up on the other end, so we're really a little closer than what those first figures show.
Yes, sir.
There's not very many things we're making money on.
I know it.
And really the second part of the discussion for Fairmount Cemetery would be the financial impact for each of those items. And I have that for each of the fees listed there. And for example, second tent, it's important to keep that at half of whatever first tent is, even though there's not many of those. So you'll see, for example, for financial impact, the impact is zero, but it's important to adjust those at the same time. Same thing with disinterment and reinterment. That's a rare occurrence, but we do want to make sure that those fees happen. We proposed the financial impact based on 2014 volume, which was a pretty normal year, and so that would have yielded a total of $26,750 additional dollars in the Fairmount Cemetery Fund. And then survey data, which we've kind of already talked about and is in your background, that it kind of runs the range. And for Fairmount Cemetery, we surveyed benchmark cities, but also private local business for the market. That was really relevant to the discussion as well.
What is that last item?
Disinterment, reinterment. I'm gonna have to defer to Oscar for that.
What in the world is that?
It's about.
Is that something that you?
It's about collecting remains.
Rebury.
Yes, disinterment. Occasionally, folks have a need to take someone from the cemetery and move them to another location within the cemetery or to another cemetery entirely. That's what those references are to. Disinterment, reinterment. As she said, doesn't happen very often. I'm glad to report.
Morgan, how do these fees balance out with Lawn Haven and Belvedere? And
The survey data that you have there does include private local business survey data. So, for example, opening and closing to go to the proposed fee of $1,250 would still stay below the high. The high survey data was $1,495, and I'm sure you'll see that high level is representing the private market.
Okay. So we're not overpricing ourselves?
No, sir. We don't feel like we are.
Okay.
And with that, we can move on to health services if it's the council's pleasure.
Go ahead.
The excuse me. For health, we wanted to make sure and note, we have several items recommended for consideration. However, we're not recommending any changes to nonprofits, daycares, foster homes, adoption homes, that I think there's been some discussion about that in the past and past years. However, we're not recommending that at this time, and that's primarily because the survey data does not support that. We're seeing that our peer cities and the county are not charging for those items either, and so that's not something we're talking about this year. But for the food service permit, the current fee is $100. We're recommending going to $150, and that's to be the same as Tom Green County. We have some disparity that, for example, the county does all inspections of restaurants outside the city limits. They charge $150, and so it's difficult to administer since we have different fees in the same jurisdiction. The next item there, of course, is seasonal food permit. We currently do not levy a fee for that. We would recommend levying a $100 fee for that, and then the 3-day temporary food permit and the 21-day temporary food permit. The 21-day temporary food permit used to be, we had to make some edits to that to make it match to real life, and then a late fee per month instead of $25 to be $50. And the primary cost with both of these, the Fairmount Cemetery and the health services, are related to labor and time from staff. The financial impact for health services would total $25,195 if all fees are implemented as discussed. For the survey data, the food permit, you'll see that there's a wide range there of what our peer cities are charging for that. We would like to be, like I said, in line with what Tom Green County is doing and going to $150. The seasonal food permit, we are in line with what other folks are charging, as it is with the 3-day, the 21-day, and the late fee. So moving forward, we do plan to discuss the remaining 3 departments, the code compliance recommendations, engineering services, and planning and development services recommendations, and ultimate adoption. For example, if the council is ready to move forward with what's been discussed today related to Fairmount Cemetery and health services, we can begin preparing through the city attorney's office what would be necessary to implement those fees. And I think it's important to note that, for example, Fairmount Cemetery has been vetted by their board, and they are in support of that. So that's what we have for your consideration today.
So you need action on Fairmount Cemetery and health services today?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem at all with the Fairmount Cemetery. I think those are all reasonable. I do have a problem with that raising the late fee from $25 to $50. That to me is punitive. I think we've got a punitive fee right now on late in our water department. I think it's hurting our citizens. I don't have a problem with anything you've got there except raising that late fee. I don't like a punitive fee, and that's too much.
Sure, we can strike that if that's
I mean,
the pleasure of the council.
I'm just one voice, but
What is your thought on that?
I may have to defer to Sandra. I certainly would like Sandra's input on this as well. But there is a concern, for example, if there is a business owner in town who is non-compliant with local ordinance, that often is a red flag for other items being wrong as well. And so our concern is that if you are going to be late with your food permit, that we would want to be able to stay on top of that and make sure that everything else is going correctly.
Morgan, is that a late payment fee, or that's a late getting your permit fee? You were late getting your permit or asking for the inspection. That's a fee for just paying us late, or that's a fee for
Calling in late for your health permit? Sandra's shaking her
Sandra's
head.
I'm asking.
I'm going to have to defer to Sandra. I don't know the
Okay.
difference in what you're asking.
We typically send out renewals, and they are due by the end of January. They're not paid by the end of January for their health permit. Then every month after that is $25. At some point, which we're at that point, we kind of give them a 3-month window there. We will visit it. If it's still, I mean, we could basically shut them down because they still don't have a current food permit. But we kind of do the late fees first before
Mayor, if they're
we
giving
get to
them
that
3
point.
months.
And if that's the case, I don't have a problem with 3 months, and maybe put in there after 3 months at $25, then we go to. But however, I think if they've not paid their fees and got their permits, after 3 months, they ought to be shut down.
Sure, and we're at that point. We
Yes.
have a list, and we're
instead of
visiting.
just-
So after this month, we're getting to that point.
I'd leave them at $25, and at 3 months, shut them down and make them start over again, because there's fees to start over, isn't there?
Yeah,
Well, I'd pick it up
another-
on that end. But instead of just making it punitive and just continually adding these charges, I don't like that in the water department, and I certainly don't like punitive fees anywhere else. So I just say after 3 months, shut them down. And we can solve all of this and leave it at $25.
I don't have a problem with the late fee. I think that if it's an annual fee, you're sent a reminder, we do the work. I mean, people have choice,
We
and their
send out
choice is to
renewals,
do it
yeah,
on
in
time.
December.
Right.
So we give them a good month and a half to get their permit application in.
Is it written somewhere that after the third month you shut them down, or
No.
do they know that,
No.
or?
I think you could shut them down after the first month.
You
We
probably-
could
that's-
You shut
after
them
the
down the
first
first
month.
month.
We just, we try to work with folks.
Right.
But
And I don't
Yeah.
see any excuse for not having a valid health permit myself.
Well, but if
That's-
we're already being lenient, I don't think we can say that that's punitive, because we're giving leniency. We're allowing someone to make a decision. They're either going to comply or they're not. I could go either way.
I disagree.
I could go either way.
Sandra, you can also assess fines along with this, can you not?
we could give them a violation notice of, yes, not having a current
Yes.
permit and actually go through municipal in that way.
Okay.
That takes someone off the job, though.
Mary, could we make it 35 and meet halfway?
If someone want to word this in the form of a motion so we can get some votes done?
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Well, I'm going to vote against it because I don't like that punitive charge, and I feel it is punitive. And if they're not going to provide a current valid health permit I think after 2 weeks they ought to be shut down, and after 3 months they certainly ought to be shut down.
I can do that.
And I'm totally in agreement with that.
So
I think
I'd
if they don't
rather
have
shut
a-
them down than hit them in the pocketbook. I'd rather shut them down. That's what they need.
I like that.
Sandra, you
Which
got direction?
pocket is that? That's the bigger pocket. Okay, for the sake of discussion, would you like me to,
Yes.
shall I amend my motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm totally in favor of that. If they don't have a valid health permit,
They don't need to be in
I
business.
think they should be closed within, days.
Yes.
Okay,
not months.
I'll amend my motion to approve as presented with one exception, do away with the late fee, but enforce the,
We're not doing away with the late fee, just
We keep
25
leaving it as
current fee.
Taking no
$25.
action, leaving it at 25?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just.
Well,
just make.
but-
Yeah, leave
But
it.
there won't ever be a late fee if we're going to whap them.
You're
no,
saying
you
wipe it
can't
out
have it
completely.
both ways, yeah.
Yeah, but if we shut them down, they have to
But you can't-
resubmit that.
Well, there's still going to be a late fee if they're late a month. There's still going to be a late fee, and I don't mind leaving that $25. I don't mind there being a charge for being late. But I think after 30 days, if they've not renewed their health permit, they need to be out of business.
But if we close them down in 2 weeks, they're not going to be a month
Yeah,
late,
but they're
are they?
still late, so I don't mind charging them a $25 fee. I don't have a problem with $25.
I'm
I would
confused.
charge
I'll
them.
let someone else make the motion. I withdraw my motion.
I'll make a motion to approve all these fees as we discussed, except for the late fee. Keep it at the current fee of $25.
I'll second that. We just have to keep that internal on
Yes.
how we're going to enforce it. That's an internal thing that we need
I
to
agree with
discuss.
You can do a policy on that.
Yeah, if we just do our policy, and I can see not closing, because somebody could overlook that in a week or 2 weeks, but 3 months, I mean, give me a break. That's not overlooking, that's just trying to skate the system.
We can go the month. We'll do them an extra month.
Sandra, let me ask you this. So after they go past their due date on renewing their permit, how do you shut them down? What do you do?
Well, we typically put a really large orange sticker on their door saying that they're closed.
And then after, if they want to reopen, what do they have to do?
They have to reapply, and they have to pay the annual permit fee plus the late fees.
Okay. I think that ought to be.
I think that's
good.
I think that's fair. Do have a motion, I do have a second. We accept
think that
everything. Now, did your motion include health services and also Fairmount Cemetery?
As presented.
As
presented. presented.
That's good. No problem with that.
Except for the-
Except for the 50. Any other comment from council? Public comment on this item?
I
Call.
just want to make sure we have proper direction. After the month, we have a late fee and also close down. Is that the direction? that
Yes.
we-
And I think policy direction should close it down and late fees there should be some fee in there for late.
Okay.
But working together, with ordinance and policy, I think this will solve
And
the
if
problem.
that doesn't add to the seriousness of this type
Yeah,
of.
they need to realize this is serious. They can't operate without a valid health permit.
Okay, we're clear.
Can you handle that, ma'am?
Well, they can. They are.
Yeah,
They shouldn't. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Put a 5-0 on that one. We are now to the follow-up and administrative issues. We'll do number 18, which is consideration of approving various board nominations by council and designated council members. The Water Advisory Board. First full term, April 2018, Kendall Hirschfeld, former government official, to a first full term starting in April 2018, completed to April 2018. Jonathan Jennings, meteorologist, to a first full term, April 2018. Mike Boyd, banking, to a first full term, April 2018. And Ben Weiss, rural water, to a first full term, April 2018. Do I have a motion to accept?
Second.
Do have Ms. Grindstaff and Mr. Silvas. Any further comment from council? Do I have comment from the public? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Drop a 5-0 on that one. And this completes our agenda, with the exception of executive. Let me read the executive. I'm going to take us into executive. It is, how long is it going to take, boss?
I would give it 1 hour to 1 hour and a half. I think that's all you know.
I think that'll work all right. I'm going to say that, I'm going to say it's going to take about an hour and a half in executive, that we will try to be back here by noon. Then we'll be able to take care of the announcements, considerations, and also number 17, which is matters discussed. Let me read executive closed session, and we will go to executive. Executive session under the revision of Government Code Title 5, Open Government Ethics Subtitle A, Open Government Chapter 551, Open Meetings Subchapter D. Exceptions to requirements that meetings be open under the following sections. Section 551071A, consult with attorney when the governmental body seeks the advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation regarding A, the Ford Ranch contract, and B, 2013 seal coating program contract, and item number C, Marta for Hirschfield's Energy Systems, LLC, ETAL. Section 55107112, consult with attorney on the matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with this chapter. A, West Texas Water Partnership. Section 551072, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property located at the San Angelo Regional Airport, city property at Bart DeWitt Park, and potential sites for a police department administration building. It is 10:29. I take us into executive. 12:14. I call this meeting back to order. Number 17 is consideration of and possible action on matters discussed in the executive closed session if needed, and there is nothing to discuss. There were no decisions made. Nothing needs to be brought forward at this time. Which takes us to item number 20, which is announcements and consideration of future agenda items. Start with you, Ms. Grindstaff, if you've got anything that you want.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Don, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. I would like a update on our police department radios and to kind of see where those are. From what I'm understanding, those aren't interfacing well with sheriff's office and volunteer fire departments and that sort of thing. So I'd like a update on that. And then also, as I know we're a ways out, but in looking at our insurance, one of the things that has came to my attention is there's no optical provisions on our insurance for retirees. So I'd like for them to look at that and maybe give us a little report on that. I'm not saying that the retirees need to have it furnished by the city. I'd like a report on how much it would cost them, if it'd be cost prohibitive, something like that.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Did you get those written down, Mike?
Yes, sir.
John, do you have anything, sir?
Zero, thank you.
Rodney?
Not at this time.
Well, I have nothing either, so that's going to move us till the item number 20, and I
Move
need
to
somebody's
adjourn.
help.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting's over. Thank you.
What if